Hi, my name is Ernie Rafailides. I'm managing member of Bayview Management LLC. I've been running the company since 2005. It's a family-run business. My family's been in the real estate business since 1959. When my father started his own brokerage house in Greektown called Raf Realty. In the mid-60s, he started buying homes, and his goal was to buy 12 houses, have them paid off in 15 years, and that way those 12 houses would carry his monthly expenses as he grew older and got closer to retirement age. When he explained this story to my mother, he basically told her that he would give 10 to 20% down, and the banks would give him the rest of the money, and he would collect the rents and pay the mortgages. My mother simply said, "Well, why aren't you buying more?" Basically told her between the job with the brokerage house and buying the homes and taking care of the tenants, it was just too much on his plate, and he couldn't handle it. My mother simply said to him, "Don't worry, I'll take care of that," and that's how they started in business. They've been basically working together day in and day out, 24/7 for the last 40 years as a team, both as husband and wife and in business partners. We basically evolved back in 2005 when I took over. We moved from Greektown to Towson, and we eventually evolved from a full-blown real estate brokerage house, Raf Realty, into Bayview Management, where we just focus on real estate investments and management, and only on the real estate the companies own. We don't do third-party management. The bulk of our portfolio is multifamily. We focus on the working class. Our apartments are, I would call them good, solid apartments. It's workforce housing, and our occupancy over the last 5 to 10 years has been over 90%. Where we've had opportunity to grow and do better is in our office portfolios. And our major properties are located right here in Towson, Maryland. We own 3 buildings, one out by the Beltway, one here in the heart of Towson where we're doing this interview, and another one about a block away, the old Towson police station. What's been really interesting is how we've repositioned those properties. The one on York Road, it's 1134 York Road. Last April, we were 46% occupied. We made some improvements to the building. We've added some significant signage. We added a pylon sign, an LED changing sign, and we added a sign box to the north tower of the building. And the building just became 100% vacant about 2 months ago. Bayview Management, we have 3 offices, essentially 2 here in Towson, one here at 17 West, the other one's down the road at one of our larger properties, and the third office is in Westminster, Maryland. We have about 13 employees. I have 3 property managers that I heavily rely upon to handle the day-to-day operation of the properties. And while I talk every day with those 3 managers, they basically run the ship for the properties that they oversee, which allows me to focus on the projects we just kind of talked about. We also try to do a lot of the stuff that we also try to do a lot of the stuff for the properties in-house. We do rely on outside vendors for some of the bigger items, snow removal, landscaping, major plumbing, major electrical, roofing, and but everything else we try to handle ourselves in-house. We have thought about, as owners of the properties, I basically wear 2 hats. There's the owner's hat and the management hat. And we have thought about over the years, well, do we turn our properties over to a third-party manager? And every time we've sat down and talked about and done the analysis, it just doesn't help the bottom line. So we just find it more efficient, more profitable, and I believe our tenants get better service because we put ourselves out there every day and manage the properties ourselves. Okay, here are my thoughts on leadership. Basically, I think I am constantly evolving, or I'm trying to find my own leadership style. My parents, when they were running the business, are very old school. If we opened at 8 a.m. and closed at 5, they would expect our staff to be in their desks at 7:55 and not leave until 4:05. That's not my style, and that's what I'm trying to figure out now as I'm taking over the company more and more. I really want to be results-based or result-oriented. I want, because this is a 24/7 hour or 24/7 job and company, I want my employees to be able to have a life. I want them to be able to enjoy being parents or taking care of elderly family members. So as long as the work gets done, I don't want to be the clock watcher. I want people to be able to have a good work-life balance. My first job, I remember I was 16 years old, or was it 15, and I was working for the summer. I had two jobs. The first was a filing clerk over here at Baltimore County in the probate office, or the registrar of wills office, as they call it now. And the second job, I was a busboy down at Taverna Athena in Harvard Place. And I remember that first week quite well. I had worked actually the first day at the clerk's office. I walk in, and my manager, my leader, calls the entire team and me into this conference room for a meeting to talk about lack of job performance and how the team needed to step it up and do more work. And I remember thinking, wow, this is going to be a fun job. And of course, she kind of looked at me and said, this is your first day, it doesn't apply to you. But I think it was her point to kind of bring me in and let me know you're part of this team and the team's not doing well and you've got to pick it up. So I worked that week. I go Friday night to Taverna Athena. I leave around 4 o'clock. I get down there for a dinner shift. I worked about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I remember getting home 2:30, 3 o'clock, and I slept till about 4 o'clock that Saturday afternoon. And it was I don't know if it was a wake-up call. I knew you had to work hard, but it certainly helped me focus on the job I had in Baltimore County at the clerk's office, and that was much more enjoyable. And I think 6 weeks later, I quit the job at the courthouse, not at the courthouse, at Taverna Athena. I stayed at the courthouse for the rest of the summer. I'd always wanted to become a lawyer. I knew from about 11, 12 years old I wanted to go to law school, become a lawyer. I can't think back of any kind of specific, whether it was a movie or situation, but I knew I wanted to become a lawyer. Working at the courthouse kind of solidified that for me, and I really enjoyed that job. And after undergrad, I went into law school. And I think the funny thing is, even though I wanted to become a lawyer, I had taken all these classes in law school towards tax and corporations and business, and I thought I'd go off and become either an attorney for businesses and startups and handling contract negotiations. And I ended up as an assistant public defender in Baltimore City. And the irony is, I remember my first year in law school, and I should not be admitting this, I barely passed criminal law. And here I was, 5 years later after graduating law, representing indigent defendants in criminal courts in Baltimore City. So you just never know what life has in store for you or what the plan is. I think you got to be flexible and kind of go with the flow and take it from there. Real estate has always been in my blood. It's been a family business. I knew that at some point I was going to come back and work for the family business. But I thought it was really important that I go out, have my own experiences, bring back my own perspective, and not that I didn't want to have regrets, but I wanted to understand what it was like to be out there and just do something totally different from real estate. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I ended up at the public defender's office, because it really gave me exposure, insight, contact with a world, and quite frankly, with clients that I would not have engaged with in any other situation. So it gave me a really different perspective, a good perspective, and it helped me really build an empathy towards lower income individuals and those who are facing with poverty on a daily basis, and that's basically it.